If you reduce justice to political colors, you destroy justice for everyone. NDC should be careful. One Joyprime Journalist Bina, Wakanadjin, Watuchin. Now, the very details are Otumono or cited were gory. And gory, no, I want to use that word in quotes. Yebete na samne kakra. There we are. I try your comment section.
Good morning. Fellow Ghanaians, there is this sickness in our republic, and it is one that is eating away at our very democracy, corroding public trust, and mocking the very constitution that is supposed to protect all of us. It is the cynical, endless weaponization of security and justice institutions by the political class, both the NDC and the NPP, whenever they are in power. Each time the colors change, the script stays the same. Opponents are hounded, activists are harassed, journalists are silenced, and citizens are detained under flimsy pretext. Both sides cry foul when they are victims, but as soon as the wheels turn, they gleefully repeat the same abuses. That, fellow Ghanaians, is not democracy. That is tyranny on rotation. Let us not mince words. Under President Akufo-Addo's NPP, we saw how laws meant to protect order were turned into weapons of suppression. Journalists, particularly those sympathetic to the NDC, were dragged to police stations and cells under so-called publication of false news laws. Protesters were tear-gassed and beaten for daring to exercise their constitutional rights against illegal mining. Opposition members, then the NDC, were targeted with cynical prosecutions. Bail hearings turned into political theater. And for 8 years, dissent was treated as a crime. But today, the NDC sits in power. And what do we see? The same movie, just with different actors. Chairman Wontumi, NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman, was arrested and detained for over a week simply because he could not meet outrageous bail conditions imposed by Yoko. Abdul Hanan, the former CEO of Buffer Stock Company, also suffered the same fate and was locked away for more than a week while lawyers scrambled to negotiate impossible bail demands. And just last week, it was the turn of Kofi Akpaloo, the presidential candidate and leader of the LPG. Arrested, slapped with bail conditions that were so burdensome that a man presumed innocent remained effectively incarcerated for a week. This is not justice. This is cruelty, and we cannot disguise this as law. And the police, it appears, have joined the orchestra of abuse. Sir Obama Pokuase, the NPP social media activist, was arrested and detained for days over flimsy allegations of sharing elements of rogue elements wielding weapons. The police statement claimed he was only being invited to assist in investigations, yet he was dragged in handcuffs like a hardened criminal. And then now it appears the most egregious of them all, the arrest and detention of Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronye, that is the NPP's Bono Regional Chairman. What was his crime? That he is alleged to have insulted and criticized the IGP. In any functioning democracy, that is free speech. But in Ghana today, it becomes a grounds for nearly 2 weeks of remand in custody. Think about that. Criticism of public officials is leading to detention. That is not democracy. And it gets worse. The judge who presided over Abronye's case did not only err, he embarrassed the entire judiciary with pronouncements that will go down in infamy. He quoted a notorious line, quote, "There is freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee freedom of the speech," attributing it to Robert Mugabe, when it is in fact what is usually linked to Idi Amin. Imagine that, 2025, a Ghanaian judge borrowing wisdom from the playbook of African dictators to justify silencing a citizen. He went further to state astonishingly that all citizens are not equal, citing George Orwell's Animal Farm, and declared all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. As if that were some guiding principle of justice, rather than a satirical warning about tyranny. He even went on to talk about how he had denied an ND supporter bail under similar circumstances, and so he would not grant a Abronye bail either. This is not jurisprudence, fellow Ghanaians. This is vendetta. This is law reduced to personal bias, and this is shameful. And we have to be clear, this is not a partisan problem. It is not about whether you support the NDC or the NPP. It is about the principle of justice. But what do we see? Each time these abuses occur, the supporters of the ruling party find ingenious ways to excuse them. When it was Akufo-Addo's government unleashing police on protesters, NPP supporters cheered. Today, when this government preside over these same excesses, NDC supporters don't seem to care. But here's the bitter truth. The police never change. Yoko never changes. The BNI, it never changed. What changed is the political leadership at the top. And those same institutions you are cheering on today will be turned against you tomorrow when power shifts. If you think you are safe because your party is in government, then that is just foolhardiness. That is why we must demand better for each other. If you keep quiet when your opponent's rights are trampled, do not be surprised when yours are next. And if you cheer when the opponent is detained unlawfully, do not cry when your allies suffer the same. Because when you reduce justice to political callous, you destroy justice for everyone. We must not allow bail to be weaponized. Bail is a constitutional right grounded in the presumption of innocence. Its purpose is to ensure a suspect appears in court, not to punish them before trial. Onerous bail conditions that are impossible to meet are not different from denying the bail outright. Detaining a man for weeks because he cannot produce millions in sureties is not justice. It is incarceration by proxy. And if a suspect is truly a flight risk or a danger to society, let the court say so and deny bail with reason. But this halfway cruelty, pretending to grant bail while ensuring conditions cannot be met, is dishonest and unconstitutional. The trajectory we are on today is terrible. And insults are becoming a crime. Tomorrow, criticism will be a crime. The next day, silence itself will be a crime because silence will be deemed suspicious. That is how democracies die. Not in one big bang, but through the steady normalization of small abuses. We laugh, we shrug, and then we justify. And then one day we wake up to find out that we are no longer citizens, but subjects. And so I say to the NPP, you have no moral authority to cry victim today because you perfected this weaponization when you were in power. But I also say to the NDC, you have no excuse to repeat the very sins you condemned yesterday. Both parties should hang their heads in shame. You have both turned justice into politics and politics into vengeance. And you have both taught the Ghanaian citizen a bitter lesson that in Ghana, your rights are conditional. It is dependent not on the Constitution, but who sits in the Jubilee House. This must end. Justice is not a toy. Institutions are not party militias. Judges are not supposed to sound like Idi Amin. Bail is not supposed to be a backdoor to indefinite detention. And the police must not be the armed wing of whichever party is in government. Yoko must not act like a political hit squad. We must demand reforms, real reforms that insulate our institutions from partisan capture. Fellow Ghanaians, this is bigger than the NPP or the NDC. This is about the very soul of our democracy. And if you allow this cycle to continue, if you accept that each party in turn can weaponize the state against its opponents, then we are doomed to perpetual instability. Because no loser will trust the system and no winner will resist the temptation to abuse it. In that vicious cycle, it is the ordinary citizen who suffers. I remember Martin Limola's famous words. First, they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. In Ghana today, we must speak out, no matter which party we belong to, because if we keep silent when others are abused, there will be no one left to speak when our turn comes. Fellow Ghanaians, let us defend the ends of justice. Let us demand better. Let us say enough is enough, not only because those affected today may be persons we don't like, but because it may be you next, the next morning. Fellow Ghanaians, good morning. And this morning we are told the AG will be moving to get Abronyo on bail. That is what we expect in a civilized democracy. We'll be looking forward to that. Have a great morning.
Say